Why 11 months, not 12? Asked Newton. Fuyus then said, You mean 13? It takes 13 months for Ptolemy to orbit its sun. It takes 11 months for planet Ramada to orbit its sun. That's why we have to celebrate it every 11 months. On that day, we face the absorber 5 times a day. But not to worry, the sign should have been taken down by now, because Baba Luna Day was yesterday. Newton knocked on the door and was greeted by a very pious-looking man who seemed about 25 and was very good-looking. The other was sitting in a corner and reading a book that seemed very well decorated. As Newton began to ask questions about Bob and Ramada, it was clear to the two holy helpers that Newton and his crew weren't of the body and weren't going to be facing the absorber when the time came. Who are you? Who are you? Asked the one who was reading the decorated book that was now placed on a pillow on the table. I am Newton from the planet Earth. Newton. Both of them suddenly looked frightened. You have heard of me? The one who had greeted them at the door then got a hold of himself and said with a bravery trying to replace the fear in his voice, We know of you, but your powers are nothing in comparison to those of Bob. His powers are infinite, the creator of this entire planet and all that there is within it, all within mere seconds. Mr. Fuyu mouthed the words along with the man's words. It was, apparently, a famous Ramadarian recitation Mr. Fuyu was quite familiar with. I see. Well, what's it like on Ramada? And where is this planet located? Or are you afraid someone with a very powerful spaceship that can incinerate Earth-sized planets as easily as one strikes a match will start, playing around with it? The man they met at the door looked angry and said, We, the Ramadars, have nothing to fear from Mutainia. You are nothing compared to Bob, and you have nothing to say when it comes to our ways, O destroyer of worlds. He got you there, Nutan, said Fuyu with a smile on his face. Newton looked the man in the eyes and said, When the time comes to have one's life absorbed, guess what? Everyone you see who is everyone you see who just showed up won't take part in your God's oppression. This, no doubt, will get it pissed, and it will show up to destroy a city, true? Because you will not only see one not facing the direction of the absorber, but all of us here. Right, my crew? The crew nodded. Aye, aye, Captain, said Obaka with a salute. Fuyu looked scared and said to the holy helper they met at the door, Nutan, he doesn't really mean that. He's just testing you, is all. He doesn't want any problem. Nutan is actually peaceful. Newton looked at Fuyu and smiled, saying, Mr. Non-Interference in action again, I see. Well, most of the time, said Fuyu. Like when I sleep, which is never. You have been gone from the ship too long, Mr. Fuyu. Suddenly, right when Newton was turning to face the Holy Helper again, the Holy Helper struck Newton across the face with a powerful punch, sending Newton staggering back. Before Newton made a recovery from the punch, the Holy Helper gave Newton another and another, then jumped up and delivered a kick to Newton's chest that was so strong it sent Newton flying and crashing right through one of the pillars of the House of Ramada, making the roof of the building hang in an awkward position. Newton's crew gasped at the attacker's power. The Holy Helper who attacked Newton then said to Newton as he staggered up off the ground, If you refuse, a city will not be destroyed, for you will be dead." Suddenly, two swords grew out of the Holy Helper's hand, and he started to look at Nutan's crew like they were weeds to whack. The crew started backing up and reaching for their weapons. The crew started backing up and reached for their weapons. Right when the Holy Helper looked like he was going to whack Sheena, Nutan flew at him, tackled the Holy Helper to the ground. The two wrestled about in the alley while the crew and the other Holy Helper just watched. When the two got up off the ground, the Holy Helper Nutan was fighting with went after him, trying to slice Nutan into pieces. Nutan quickly ducked and dodged the swords and countered with strong kicks and punches to the side of the Holy Helper's face, jaw, and back. When Nutan noticed that his punches and kicks didn't seem to be having much effect, he then flew about 50 feet from the blades, tore a metal pole out of the street, then tested the man's sword's metal. The notion that this was a regular guy Nutan was fighting had now long since vanished. Nutan was able to shatter the swords, but they were only replaced by new ones. The ones that were shattered and lying on the ground began to be reabsorbed into the ground, giving the Mutainia crew who saw it a sick feeling in their stomachs. Although Nutan's artificial limbs hadn't been charged to their strongest, they were still incredibly powerful, allowing Nutan to duck, dodge, and strike hard on the side of the Holy Helper's head, back, neck, and shoulders, hitting him with strong strikes that would have shattered into powder on normal man's bones. Suddenly, after sending the Holy Helper a kick on the side of the head that sent him nearly crashing through a wall, after sending the Holy Helper a kick to the side of the head that sent him nearly crashing through a wall, the Holy Helper that was reading the decorated book pulled out a gun and started shooting at Nutan. Nutan took 2 bullets in the back before one of Nutan's crew produced a ray gun and sent the Holy Helper with the gun up into a cloud of red. He apparently was normal. After killing that one, the crew man pointed his gun at the one that was far more aggressive. Right when he was about to pull the trigger, the sword-producing Holy Helper flew at Nutan. Nutan dodged to the side, spun around, and with lightning speed, with a pole in his hand, struck the Holy Helper so hard it went flying at the pillar that was already straining under a lot of weight. The pillar shattered. "Look out!" shouted the crew as the house of Ramada lost a good part of its roof. A big air conditioner went tumbling into the street. The Holy Helper managed to survive both the strike of the pole and the pillar contact. The Holy Helper started to get up with the debris hanging off of him, and suddenly his head went tumbling and rolling down some of that debris while his body fell forward into it. Nutan had swung his hand upon the Holy Helper's neck in a karate chop way, and that did it. The loud crash of the house of Ramada piqued up curiosity from others, and now Nutan and crew had an audience with those who heard the fighting and came to investigate. Instead of blood, there was dust in the air. Dust was actually pouring from the neck of the Holy Helper. But before Nutan could react to such a sight, he became distracted by the sound of a car that was approaching, but then stopped. It had 2 more Holy Helpers within it. They got out of the car and looked shocked. Nutan raised the pole like he was going to attack them. Instead of challenging Nutan, they ran off screaming. Strange. Why do you think they chickened out?